Has the FBI ever been sued by somebody who felt that they were terminated based on case assignments?
In the entire history of the FBI, I'm sure they have.
No, since your tenure.
I'm sure there's ongoing litigation.
Yes. In fact, there is ongoing litigation. And in fact, people have been asked who they voted for. And in fact, you are running an FBI for the President of the United States rather than the people of the United States.
That is not an accusation. That is a conclusion built on specific names, specific cases, and specific questions that FBI agents were asked during their own job interviews. Let's go back to where this argument started.
And I'm going a little out of order here because I'm going to pursue some of the things that you were just talking to Mr. Fry about and remind you about your confirmation hearing. You said under oath, and I quote, "There will be no politicization at the FBI. There will be no retributive actions taken by the FBI should I be confirmed." And in your written response to the Senate questionnaire, you said, I quote, "Personnel decisions shall be based on performance and adherence to the law. And every FBI employee will be held to the absolute same standard, and no one will be terminated for case assignment." So, first question. Would hiring FBI agents, analysts, and supervisors from only one political party being politicization of the FBI or making personnel decisions based on performance and adherence to the law?
We don't ask FBI applicants where their political parties are.
Are you aware that in the lawsuit that Mr. Driscoll filed against you and the FBI, he was asked who he voted for?
Since that lawsuit has been filed, that's ongoing litigation, I'm not able to comment.
Well, but it also means that you just said that what happened in his situation didn't happen.
This is a trap built entirely from Patel's own words. The senator is not using outside sources or opposition research. She is using his confirmation oath, his own written commitment to the Senate, and placing it directly next to what allegedly happened inside his agency. When someone is asked who they voted for during an FBI interview, that is not a performance evaluation. That is exactly what he swore under oath would never happen. The gap between that promise and that allegation is what this entire clip is about.
Let me ask you an even easier one. Does firing agents for working on the cases that they were assigned to and that the president didn't like, is that politicization of the FBI or making personnel decisions based on performance and adherence to the law?
The FBI doesn't terminate anyone based on case assignments alone.
Has the FBI ever been sued by somebody who felt that they were terminated based on case assignments?
In the entire history of the FBI, I'm sure they have.
No, since your tenure.
I'm sure there's ongoing litigation.
Yes. In fact, there is ongoing litigation. And in fact, people have been asked who they voted for.
He said it himself. Nobody gets terminated for case assignments alone. But there is active litigation saying exactly that happened. And the senator's point is precise. These were not hypothetical questions. Every scenario she presented was something that allegedly occurred under his watch. When hypotheticals turn out to be facts, the answer "we don't do that" stops being a defense.
They are the things you have done during your tenure. And according to a lawsuit filed last week by long-term FBI agents, you fired former acting director Brian Driscoll. He had served with the Bureau for nearly 20 years, earned a Medal of Honor, Medal of Valor for bravery during the dangerous ISIS raid, and had a wealth of crisis response experience. When the Trump administrations interviewed Mr. Driscoll for that role, they interrogated him about his political leanings and who he voted for in the last 5 elections. Questions Mr. Driscoll refused to answer because those types of questions impermissibly politicized the FBI. You also fired Steve Jensen, who served the FBI for nearly 2 decades and ran critical terrorism, counterintelligence, but he was fired because he took part in investigating crimes committed on January 6th. You also fired a decorated combat veteran with decades of experience in the Bureau, Special Agent Walter Jardia, because he worked on the investigation into the Russian interference in the 2016 presidential election and helped investigate Trump's ally, Peter Navarro. Director Patel, it is very clear that you have flunked your own test. You've put saving your job, which I actually believe you were being honest about during your confirmation hearings, over doing what's right for the FBI and the American people. That is not adherence to the law.
3 names, 3 careers, 3 different investigations. ISIS, January 6th, Russian interference. Each agent fired after their case became politically inconvenient. The senator is not making a broad institutional argument here. She is building a specific documented pattern, name by name, case by case. And she ends with the one line that ties it all together. You flunked your own test. That is not opinion. That is his oath held up against his own decisions.